Holding deposits, this is very relevant to you guys, whether you take one or you don't. Let only landlords. You use an agent to find you a tenant and then manage it yourself. Can you show me your hands? Okay, and do any of you ever use more than one letting agent to market your property? Multi-agents? Okay. Be aware with multi-agency, because the rule around 1 week holding deposit, okay, it's a bit low, but the thing that really bugs me is that the minute you take a holding deposit, you have to stop marketing the property for the next 15 days. So you cannot market that property, you cannot do any viewings on that property, you cannot show anybody that property has to be not available for the period of time you're in receipt of the holding deposit. The reason I've mentioned multi-agency, and I've had this happen to me a lot of time, agent 1 takes a holding deposit, they ring you and they tell you, great, they take it off the market. Agent 2 doesn't. They take a holding deposit. You're going to be liable as the landlords, because this act also applies to landlords if you haven't told agent 2 to stop marketing, because it's your property. So just be really, really, really on the ball if you are using multi-agency. Now, the holding deposit must be given to the tenant, given back to the tenant, and it must go towards the rent or deposit. I recommend that it's the rent. So if you as the landlord pulls out, you have to give the holding deposit back. If the tenant fails the referencing but hasn't misled you, you have to give the deposit back. And if the tenant is successful, you have to give the deposit back. So failing referencing is no longer a reason whereby you can keep the fee. If they've told you on their application form that they have county court judgments and you decide to proceed with their application and their credit check comes back with county court judgments and you say, sorry, you failed, you cannot keep that money because they haven't lied to you. You can only keep the money if the tenant pulls out. Doesn't matter for what reason. If they pull out, you can keep the money. If they fail a right to rent check, you can keep the money. The government does believe that these tenants should know their immigration status before paying their holding fee. If the tenant gives false or misleading information and then fails referencing, you can keep the holding deposit. So for example, if the question is, do you have any county court judgments, adverse credit, or anything that we should know about on your credit file, and they say no, and it comes back with a CCJ, they've misled you, they've lied to you on the application form. But your application form now has to have every single question that you need to know before you make a decision on taking that holding deposit. If they drag their feet and are not in a position whereby they are ready to enter the tenancy agreement within the 15 days, which is what the government thinks it takes from getting an application to starting the tenancy, if they do not provide you with everything that you need to enter that tenancy agreement within the 15 days, you can withhold the money and remarket the property. If you withhold their money, you must write to them and advise them why within 7 days, and it must be the quota from the Act. So the reason we're retaining your deposit is that you've given false or misleading information under the Tenant Fee Act of 2019. We are entitled to do so.